Alright, welcome back to this is part 3 of ICD 9 introduction. Alright, let's get going here. No time to waste. We just finished talking a little bit about the structure. We talked about volume 1 and 2 and also a bit about volume 3 as well. Now, this is what's going to happen here. Volume 1 and 2 are used for outpatient and physician coding. As I mentioned before, if you work in a doctor's office, you may actually never have to look at volume 3. Now, all of ICD-9 codes, alright. In the physician's office, we use what is known as a CMS 1500, or Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, the 1500 form. Alright, and in block 21, that's where you're going to input the code for ICD-9. For if you work in a hospital, right, you're going to be using what is known as a UB04, alright, and the block is block 66, but we'll get there eventually someday. Alright, so talk a little bit about oversight and a little bit about, I guess, continued history portion of it. Alright, so Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, which used to be known as the Healthcare Financial Administration, or HCFA. So in fact, back in the days, this used to be called the CH 1500 form. But of course, it's no longer called that. It's just simply called the CMS because Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services is not the name of it. Also, another oversight is National Centers for Health Statistics, which we will talk about because now they have taken over ICD-10, or at least as far as the coding, the disease coding portion. Right, so the diagnosis coding portion is going to be all about these people here. Let's see, under the ICD-10. Hey, let's capitalize all that census. All right, ICD-10, both volume 1 and also volume 2 as well. Alright, volume 3 now is going to be up to the job of CMS to work on. Alright, so those are some of the institutions, agencies that have huge influence. Right? And of course, AHIMA as well. And also AHIMA, as far as AHIMA goes, no, that is not the same thing. I'm so used to saying cascading style sheets. CCS, right? Certified Coding Specialist. Right? Not the same as CSS. Alright, anyway. So, the alphabetical index, volume 2. Okay, let me put that on there. Alright. Essentially, the way to code is you first begin off by looking at the main term. The main term is either going to be a disease, it's going to be your diagnosis, the admission, the sign, the symptom, the encounter, or even words like pregnancy, complications. Right, these are your key terms. Words like fracture. All right, these are the terms that you're going to use in order to be able to come up with your code when you look up your alphabetical index. Now, depending on what it is that you're looking for, ICD-9 can be fairly easy, especially when you know some of the main diseases. That's why it is important that you make sure you pay attention to your medical terminologies or your medical terms. Once you have the general idea of your medical terms, I think you just fine. So definitely make sure you do the quiz for the medical term if you haven't done so. So again, your main term is either going to be a disease, a diagnosis, a condition, a sign, a symptom, an injury, an illness, and so on and so forth. Alright, so those are the things that you're going to be looking for when we start looking into coding. Right. Now, your main term is always going to be bolded. That's how it works. Right? The main term is always bolded, and then your subterms are in not bolded, but they're indented over to the right. And if there's an additional subterm, let's say there was a subclassification term, then it will be indented further to the right. And if there was another one, it will be indented even further more to the right, and so on and so forth. And that's how it works. So your main term is what you're looking for, and it's what you should look under. Alright, so for instance, if we said we're looking for, let's come up with, let's say, pyogenic arthritis. Pyogenic arthritis. Alright, so let's say we're looking for pyogenic arthritis. Alright. We should be looking under the word arthritis because arthritis is the actual disease. Pyogenic is just a form of it. Right? Same as if we were looking for rheumatoid arthritis. We should be looking at the word arthritis, and underneath it we will find pyogenic. Pyogenic, of course we did that. We will find rheumatoid. Alright. Let's say we were looking for something like high risk pregnancy. Right. Basically, what we should do is we should look for the term, or let me bold this so it makes sense to you. Right. We should look for the term pregnancy, and underneath pregnancy, we will find high risk. And in this case, high risk obviously will not be high. Hey, high risk, high risk. It will not be indented, obviously. All right. So that's how it works. It's a very simple concept. For some reason, sometimes it escapes people in the beginning, but once they start getting it, they essentially get it. All right. So that's how that portion works. Um, so let me actually show you the actual book, so we can actually go through an actual book and see how that will look like. Okay. Book, where are you? Okay, let's play that. All right, so what we're looking at here, we're looking at essentially anemia. All right, so the main term here is anemia, and everything that's indented over to the right is not a main term. All right, so as you can see, the anemia was bolded, and everything that's indented over to the right is considered. Now you see there's further indentation and further indentation. So those are subterms that are underneath the terms themselves. All right, so that's essentially how that works. All right. Let's go back and I'll show you. I'll repeat the short video so you can see it again. But essentially, as you can see, Addison, so on and so forth, anti-neoplastic chemotherapy, all those things are indented. So if you look at anemia once again, we look at anemia with, and anemia with, right? This is our main term is anemia. With is a subterm, and these are diseases that are with anemia. So let's say disorder of anaerobic glycolysis, pentose phosphate pathway. All right, these are all anemia with these certain diseases or certain characteristics. Whereas anemia, let me play this again so we can go down and see some of the items that are below it. All right. As you go down, we have all the different characters of what anemias can be. Addison's pernicious, Addison's bulimia, excuse me, agranulolytic, idiopathic, myxedemia, and so on and so forth. And as you can see, some of them have further indentations. So that's how it works. All right, that's pretty much how that section works. Let's see. I think I have another video of the book itself. So let's look at the second video, and you'll get an additional view of what it basically is supposed to be like. Okay. Let's see. All right. Let's play this video as well. Now in this video we're looking at we're looking at arthritis. All right. Now these happen to be some of the fifth digit characters that we're going to need in order to complete the code, and we'll talk about this in a few minutes. Those items that you see in those dots are not really dots, they're hexagons. These are referred to as conventions. But as you can see under the main term arthritis, these are all things that are listed underneath it. Arthritis at the so the arthritis back, and so on and so forth. These are still arthritis, and as you can see, just like we did before, due to and so on and so forth. So that's how the book works. The main term is always the bolded item, and everything else is indented over to the right. Sometimes students have difficulty because what they will do is they will see the main term, or excuse me, they may not see the main term, but they may see a word that's already indented to the right, and incorrectly assume that somehow that is also part of it as well. But that is its own dictionary, right? But it will be not. It's not. All right. So inside the alphabetical index, there are three very important sections. Obviously, this is the index to the diseases. All right. It is categorized in alphabetical index from A all the way to Z. Between A and Z, all right, we have two very special items. One of it is known as a hypertension chart. Another one is known as the neoplasm chart. All right, which we're going to be taking a look at in a few minutes, actually. As soon as, bear with me here.